Hey everyone, welcome back to Pokemon Rejuvenation. Hope everybody is staying happy, healthy, and safe. Today is finally the day. This is going to be my Zygarde Cell video guide. So in this video, I will be going over every single possible Zygarde Cell location. We'll also be going over some of the rewards for them. And that's about it. It's pretty simple. During this guide, I will be mentioning the prerequisites for each Zygarde Cell, and by that I mean I'll be describing the story, or where you should be at in the story in order to get said Zygarde Cell. In the upper right hand corner there should also be a count of how many Zygarde Cells we have at any given time. I should also have the badges that we have during this time, and below that I should also have either a sun, moon, or both, basically to tell you whether or not the Zygarde Cell is available at night or day or both. So anyways, in order to start on this amazing, wonderful quest of gathering all the Zygarde Cells, you need to have your first badge. You need to have the Poison Heart badge. Once we have the Poison Heart badge, we want to actually be making our way all the way over here to the Gearen City, East Gearen City Help Center. We'll find this man over here. His name is a Yunda, and he wants our help. So I'm just going to tell him he's weird, but, you know, he's not giving us a choice. He will take us into this room, and if we talk to him, he will give us the Gather Cube. You need this before you can even so much as see the Zygarde Cells around you. As soon as we collect the Gather Cube, we can immediately head outside of the Help Center, and we can grab our first Zygarde Cell. So that's pretty fantastic. We're not done yet, though. We can also leave the city all the way over here to the south. And here at the Oceania Pier, you can find another Zygarde Cell hidden amongst the Fletchling. Continuing onward with our journey to collect all the Zygarde Cells, we're going to be heading back into the city, actually, though. And we're going to be heading all the way up over here, the train station. So at the train station, we want to buy a pass for the train here, even though we can't go back into Goldenwood Forest at this time in the story. We can, however, reach the entrance, and right over here on Route 1 is another Zygarde Cell. Next up, we're going to be heading back into the city yet again. And we're going to be heading back into the sewers, just from a different angle from over here. Unfortunately, I forgot to spray some repels, but that's just fine. Down here in the sewers, we want to head all the way over here and we'll find our fourth Zygarde Cell. Next up, we want to head all the way up over here into this alley. You'll notice that this alley is closed. That is because it is during the day, so we're going to have to come back during the night by changing our clocks. Once we've changed our clocks to nighttime, we can actually come back here in this alleyway and we'll find Zygarde Cell number 6. Or actually, I think this is number 5. I'm getting a bit confused already. This is going to be a mess. Anyways, for the next Zygarde Cell, we're actually going to be heading all the way back to VNAM's gym. So again, you have the Poison Heart badge at this point, so you should have been to VNAM's gym at this point as well. Also, you'll be seeing me spraying a lot of repel. I don't want anything to happen like earlier. So back here in this gym, we want to be making our way to the next room right over here. If you don't have the secret entrance open, then first off you have to mix brown, which is every single color within this room mixed together, all 4 of them. Then you have to mix white, which is red plus green plus blue. And finally a strange orange mix, which is yellow, red, and green. Once you mix all of those together, you will actually have access to this hidden room right here. And from this hidden room, we can make our way all the way into this back alley here. All the way up here in the right corner of this back alley is going to be Zygarde Cell number 6. Next up, Zygarde Cell number 7, which is going to be the last one that we can get at this current point in the story. So we're going to be leaving V&M's gym, but we're not going to be heading too far from here. Instead, we're actually going to be heading to the Crystalline Hotel. So that's actually over to the right here. Once we enter the hotel, we actually want to be making our way all the way up here to the rooftop. So it's going to be the 4th floor. And we want to head over to this area. You might not see anything, and that's because this Zygarde cell only comes out during the day. So after changing my time on my computer and re-entering the building and coming back out here, you'll see that the Zygarde cell is indeed here. And like I said, that is the last Zygarde cell that you can grab at this point in the game. However, we can actually head back to the help center and talk to Mr. Ayunda. I'm actually not sure how to say that. And he will have a small reward for us. So we're going to be heading back here to grab that reward. We will be doing this frequently as we collect cells that give us a reward, depending on how many that is. So we have 5 Zygarde cells at this point, and our reward is going to be TM49 Echoed Voice. And our next goal is going to be 35 Zygarde cells. So believe me, we will be coming back here quite often. The next Zygarde cell on our list is going to be on Route 2, which we can access from this train station on the right side of East Gearen City. So we want to buy a ticket and head on over here. You cannot access this until not only do you have the Poison Heart badge, but you also have to have Rock Smash. Of course, on your first visit here, you will get bumped into by this random person here. We won't be discussing that. We won't really be discussing story a whole lot in here. There will also be a few trainers that we unfortunately have to deal with here. You're going to have to be patient with me on some of these trainers, unfortunately, because I'm going back through a ton of save files. But thankfully, our next Zygarde cell is going to be up here, and this is going to be Zygarde cell number 8. And this is all the Zygarde cells we can get at this current point in the game. The next Zygarde cell we will be able to get won't be until Sheridan Village. The next Zygarde cell we're going to be finding is going to be here in Sheridan Village. It's going to be at the arena, and it's going to be at nighttime. So this is Zygarde cell number 9. There is one other Zygarde cell that is fairly close by as well. So if we exit this area and we make our way over here to the Sheridan Village Help Center, there is a help quest that we can actually take on, and it's called the Hidden Library 2. So if we accept it, we'll have to talk to this guy right over here, and he's going to give us a list of chores to do. We're going to be heading back to Gearen City, and we'll complete those chores before finding the Hidden Library itself. Back here in Gearen City, where you start your chores, you want to start them at the Crystalline Hotel. You will talk to Gearen right here. She's going to quickly redirect you, and we're going to be heading to the Gearen Park instead. We will have a short little cutscene here, or actually it's not that short at all, but with this cutscene complete, we will have access to the Hidden Library. Again, we're going to enter the library, and we're going to be making our way all the way over here to the right, and we will be finding Zygarde cell number 10. So pat yourself on the back, we're 1/10 of the way there. Unfortunately, this is the last Zygarde cell we're going to be seeing for quite a bit, at least until after you get your second badge. Our next cell is going to be in a location called the Mirage Woods. Here you're going to have to overcome a really difficult battle with a Kingdra, or rather a Kingdra statue, which you're going to have to repair with a piece of the statue that you will find on Route 3. Once you've done so, you can talk to a scientist that's over in the building to the left and eventually come to this area right here. Inside of this cave with Zubats, we'll find the next Zygarde cell. I know I'm mentioning this right now, however, the Kingdra statue battle is extremely difficult, although it is doable. I've heard of people using things such as water-absorbed Quagsire with Amnesia to slowly tank the hits and whittle it down, or people getting lucky with things like Blitzel surviving a hit and Thunder Waving it. It is doable. I don't know if I recommend it. If you're not up for a challenge, don't do it. You can save this one for later. Anyways, our next stop on the hunt for Zygarde cells is going to be Golden Leaf Town. At this point, when you arrive in Golden Leaf Town, you should have 3 badges. So the first Zygarde cell near this area is going to be up here on the Forgotten Path. So just right up north here is the first Zygarde cell. Now, if we make our way all the way down here back into Golden Leaf Town and make our way all the way over to the left, there should be another Zygarde cell between these tombstones. And if we continue on this path all the way down over here, we will enter the Wispy path. Aside from the trainers that are scattered about, here on the Wispy path, we want to make our way all the way over to this little plateau right here. There's going to be Esper here, but there's also going to be the next Zygarde cell right over here. And finally, we can cut down this tree, and we're going to be heading over here into this area that leads into the Golden Leaf Forest. And here you're going to encounter this man known as Agent C, and you're going to battle him. If you battle Agent C here and win, he will allow you entry into Goldenwood Forest. However, our interest isn't here in Goldenwood Forest, it's here within the Goldenwood Cave, or rather, in the Goldenwood Grove, which we're going to be entering quite soon. If you don't remember what the Goldenwood Grove is, it's the area where we battled Melia at the beginning of the game. There's a small path right over here, and if we take it, we can eventually find our next Zygarde cell. And that's all the Zygarde cells that we can currently get for now at this part of the story. The next Zygarde cell we'll be grabbing is going to be after we get our 4th badge. The next Zygarde cell we're going to be finding is here in the Wispy Ruins. At this point, you should have 4 gym badges. So during your first visit to the Wispy Ruins, you will actually encounter a couple Shuppet. They will throw you down this hole, and you'll have to solve a little bit of a puzzle in order to climb out of that hole, which you would climb out right here. Once you climb out, you should see the Zygarde cell immediately to your right. The next Zygarde cell we're going to be finding is all the way in Akua Town. At this point, you've made it out of the Wispy Ruins, and you've dealt with Nim to gain entry into Akua Town. So inside of Akua Town, there are 2 Zygarde cells. One is all the way up here in this building right here, and the other one is going to be all the way down here. So we're going to be making our way past these Corsola, and we're going to find our way up here. Also, if you've kept up to date on the Ditto event, the Ditto would be right beside you as well. And that's going to be it for Akua Town. The next Zygarde cell isn't going to be for quite a while. In fact, it's not going to be until after the next badge. Our next Zygarde cell is going to be right after you finish your battle with Valerie and earn your 5th badge. You should already be here on Terajuma Island. That means all you have to do is come back to the area you first landed at and surf all the way up over here. And if we do so, eventually we'll find a Zygarde cell right over here. Now the next Zygarde cell is going to, of course, still be on Terajuma Island, but it won't be until after a couple of story events. The next Zygarde cells available aren't available until after you've dealt with the Rift Carnivine within the Terajuma jungle. So the first Zygarde cell that we'll be grabbing is fairly simple to grab. It's going to be up here on this small plateau, and again, you can't get it until you take care of the Rift Carnivine. The next one is the same way. We're going to be backtracking through the jungle again, the deeper portion of the jungle, and we're going to be making our way all the way over to this small section. We're going to be heading down through the grass, and we're going to destroy this Vileplume by sprinkling powder on it and battling it. After the Vileplume has disappeared, we can make our way down south and we can find our next Zygarde cell. The next cell, however, won't be available for some short moments of time. After another short bit of story, which consisted of Roaring B's midlife crisis, as well as dealing with Zeta, we should be here on the Valor shore. Right before you reach the point where you would normally need Lava Drift, we can surf down here and all the way over to the right for another Zygarde cell. The next Zygarde cell isn't very close by. In fact, we'll be side questing or sidetracking or backtracking and quite a bit. However, there is a short bit of story to cover before we reach that point. Once you've dealt with the next segment of the story, which involves the secret shore and finding Crawly's secret base, which has been transformed into the Zen base, as well as dealing with Rin's teenage angst, we can move on to backtracking. At this point, you should also be able to go for your 6th gym badge if you so desire. Instead, however, we are going to be backtracking into a few random areas to grab some Zygarde cells. First off is going to be this cell within the Goldenwood Forest. That's not the only one though. If we move up here, we'll find another cell right next to this Mesprit statue. And if we continue onwards, we can move all the way back into the Goldenwood Cave. Again, the last time we were here, we didn't have surf, and now we do. If we surf on this body of water and make our way over to this ladder, we'll enter the basement floor of the cavern. From here, we have to deal with one single trainer, and once we've taken care of this trainer, we can rock smash this rock and head on over to the Zygarde cell, which is right above this ledge. Unfortunately, at this point in the game, there's still more backtracking to do, so I will meet you all the way in the Amethyst cavern. Also, that was cell number 25, so we're officially 1/4 of the way there. Starting from the entrance to Sheridan village, we're going to be backtracking through the Amethyst cavern really quickly. So inside of this room, we're going to be making our way all the way to the left side. And if we surf over to this ledge right here, we'll find another Zygarde cell. And the next cell is going to be on Route 3. Here on Route 3, we're going to be heading towards the Faisal Cave. So once we've entered the Faisal Cave, we actually want to head all the way down here. We're going to be running through this clearing really quickly, and then we're going to be surfing on this water all the way over here. Eventually, we will enter the Moonfield. And at the Moonfield, if we surf across it, we'll find ourselves another Zygarde cell. That sounds nice and all, but there's still more backtracking to do. Next up, we're going to be heading back to Akua Town. Here at Akua Town, we'll be starting out from the beach, where all the non-knife-wielding Corsola are nicely playing around. We're going to be surfing all the way to the east. And then once you've gone as far as you can go up a little bit, go around these rocks very carefully. Eventually you'll reach this weird island. It has the kid trainer and the rock smashable rock. We're going to want to surf all the way south again, and eventually we'll find this island here and this Zygarde cell. But that's not all we're going to be doing out here, unfortunately. So we're now going to be surfing way far north as we possibly can, as soon as we can make it all the way over here. Again, if you ever get lost, you might want to follow the trench lines or the dive lines, even if we can't use them. Eventually, we will be making our way to the Evergreen Forest. However, we're going to be heading instead to the Evergreen Cave, north. The icy surface is cracked and unstable. Use your Q to get into a battle and use a move such as Flame Burst, Eruption, or Lava Plume, or even Magma Drift if you put this off long enough in a battle, and that should melt the ice on the floor. Once you've done so, you should be able to surf all the way across over here. And now all we have to do is break this rock, and then we can enter or exit onto this cliff over here and grab our next Zygarde cell. Fortunately, our next Zygarde cell doesn't actually require backtracking. Instead, it requires story progression. So we're going to be heading back to Kaguri village. It's time you finally take on the gym if you haven't. And the next Zygarde cell is going to be in the third puzzle room right before you battle Crawly. So if we make our way all the way over here to the side of the spider, we'll find that Zygarde cell. The next Zygarde cell we're going to be finding is here within the Aquamarine Chamber. Again, the reason I'm not guiding you to this one directly from the entrance is because this is actually a story spot. This is where you would be finding Squirtle, but also where you would rescue Saki from a gang of Sharpedo. The next few Zygarde cells are thankfully grouped together within Tele Resort, which is very, very convenient. So for the first two, we are going to be coming down this way. Right here outside this house, or I suppose it'd be a mansion, is one Zygarde cell. If we make our way over here, right next to the bed, is going to be another Zygarde cell. And finally, there is one more Zygarde cell within Tele Resort. For this Zygarde cell, we actually have to move all the way up over here. Normally, when you first enter this building, you'll have a cutscene with Tesla and Melia. After that cutscene, you want to move straight to the left. There will be a spa room, and there will be the Zygarde cells sitting on this chair, presumably getting a spa of its own. The next few Zygarde cells that we can grab aren't accessible until you've dealt with Angie, who had taken over Crystalline Town. So, the first cell that we're going to be grabbing is the cell that you can grab immediately after you defeat Angie. This cell is going to be in her church on this upper portion. It's also our 35th Zygarde cell, which means we're going to be taking a trip back to Ayunda. Back here at Ayunda, he's going to be giving us the Soothe Bell for finding 35 Zygarde cells. Our next goal is only going to be 10 cells within that, weirdly enough, but that's fair. So our next destination is going to be Crystalline Town. Over here in Crystalline Town, the ice is now melted, which means we can access 2 new Zygarde cells. The first of which is over here, but the other Zygarde cell is actually going to be all the way down over here. And it should be behind this cut tree in front of the store. It's a bit of a weird place. And the next cells beyond that are actually going to lie within the help quest of the Crystalline Help Center. In order to access the Crystalline Help Center, which is normally going to be locked, you're going to have done all the Kokori Village Help Center quest. And only after a short little side bit there will you have the key to the center. Since we've done that, we can access the Help Center, and we want to take on first quest, Lighthouse, because this quest will eventually lead us to a certain part of Route 6 that has a Zygarde cell waiting for us. Finding the next 2 Zygarde cells is going to be sort of a part of the side quest. You don't have to take the side quest, which is contradicting what I said earlier, from the Crystalline Help Center. However, either way, if you want to find them, you're going to have to come down here to the hole that Amber fell into. The badge that we received from Kreese after we defeated Angie allows us to use rock climb, and we want to make our way down here through the sort of maze of ledges. And again, our goal is to reach the center. Once we reach the center, we can use the ladder up here, and we can exit out into this room. Obviously, if you're on that side quest, then you want to enter that lighthouse and check things out there. However, if you're not on the side quest, you can just exit out here onto a different part of Route 6. And over here, we'll find another Zygarde cell. This next Zygarde cell is actually part of the quest I mentioned previously, and you do actually need to complete said quest to access this place. The reason being is that this door is locked, and until you grab the code for the door, which you have to do so by going to all 3 lighthouses, you can't enter. But once you can enter and you clear out the Team AA grunts and save the Ampharos, you can grab this next Zygarde cell. And with that, we're now going to be heading back to Amethyst Cave. Here at Amethyst Cave, we want to be heading to a certain rock climb spot, which is over next to a couple of waterfalls. As soon as we use rock climb down here, this wonderful woman will surf up to us, and she will talk to us quite a bit. After we get through going through her text, we can actually follow her all the way down this river here, and we'll find our next Zygarde cell. We're not quite done here just yet, though. This time, from the actual entrance of the Amethyst caverns, we want to head down sort of towards the spot where Melia was presumed to have died. Except before that, we want to head into the area where Rin thought it was a dead end. We'll rock climb up to this spot and head on into these caverns right here. We'll find ourselves here in the Amethyst mines. And if we continue on, we'll find a Team Zen Grunt. This Team Zen Grunt basically wants us to power this machine, which requires us to run around and press 3 different switches. Eventually, after finding those switches and having a couple of difficult battles between the ghost of your mother, as well as a rift, you'll find yourself here on the Cliffside Grave. Over here on the right side of the Cliffside Grave, there will be a Zygarde cell, but it's only here at night. Our next Zygarde cells are going to be found within Valor Mountain. Keep in mind that this is going to be after a long portion of story. So the first cell found within Valor Mountain is going to actually be found on the very bottom floor, and you're going to need to make sure that Valor Mountain is in its cool state. With Valor Mountain in its cool icy state, we can surf across here and enter the Chamber of Awakening that's at the bottom of Valor Mountain. Now, there are some story purposes for this room that you may or may not take part in, but regardless, the Zygarde cell is still going to be here. Valor Mountain has many other Zygarde cells though. If we come to the 3rd floor over here, while it's in the neutral mode, or mood actually I should say, you can find another Zygarde cell all the way over here. Eventually, when you make your way out of the main section of Valor Mountain, you will reach the Valor Mountain cliffside. Over here, we're going to find another Zygarde cell. We're also going to pick up this blast powder right here. This is important for getting another Zygarde cell much later. We're also going to enter the 5th floor over here and grab this Zygarde cell right over here. Also, keep these crystals in mind because they're going to be necessary for grabbing the rest of the cells that are within Valor Mountain later. However, we're instead going to climb up to the summit. And we're going to make our way all the way over here. We're going to mine this rock really quickly. Once we've mined the rock once, we want to use the blast powder that we recently picked up and mine it again. Once we mine it again with the blast powder, the stump of the rock will disappear and we can smash this rock over here to get our next Zygarde cell. For the next few Zygarde cells though, we're going to be heading back into the mountain over here. So we want to head onto the 5th floor right over here, and you want to make sure that you change the mountain's mood to warm or hot. We're going to exit out here to the cliffside and exit back into the mountain itself here. With its mood changed to hot, we can actually surf all the way across that pool of lava, and we can grab this Zygarde cell here. But wait, that's not all. We can drop down this hole right here to find another Zygarde cell. Not only that, but we can drop down here and climb up this ladder to access another section of the mountain. Over here, if we use our magma drift, we can cross the lava and we can access this Zygarde cell as well. You may have actually grabbed this Zygarde cell much earlier if you had magma drift when you first entered Valor Mountain, rather than if you had to enter through the entrance in Crawley's gym. You may have noticed that at this point we've been quite sidetracked, and we actually have 49 Zygarde cells, which means it's time to pay Ayunda another visit. Once again, back at the Hell Plaza, if we talk to Ayunda here, he will give us a Macho Brace for our troubles, and the next goal is going to be 70 Zygarde cells. The next couple of Zygarde cells are going to be available after the event of Valor Mountain and after you get your 8th badge. Eventually we'll find ourselves here in the Forest of Time, and we actually want to take a right. At these rock climb spots we'll find our first Zygarde cell here in the Forest of Time. However, we're going to drop down those rock climb spots right there, and we're going to move on over to the left. As we climb up higher and higher, eventually we'll find a spot over to the left, tucked away behind a tree, and that is the second Zygarde cell here in the Forest of Time. This next Zygarde cell is completely unavoidable. It's going to be right next to a passed out cannon on the distorted path, right before you fight the Dimensional Rift Garbodor. Once you defeat the Rift Garbodor, you can now access West Gearen City. This opens up a few new Zygarde cells for us to collect. Starting right here, we have this Zygarde cell right down there, and if we exit the city to the north, we can find a Zygarde cell right here to the left. If we exit the city to the south right, onto Junction Bridge and head north over here, we can find another Zygarde cell all the way over here. Once you've defeated Eric, you can finally come back to Crystalline Town and head north to the Church of Theolia. Inside of the Church of Theolia, if we head all the way back to the very back room, you'll notice that the rift here has vanished, and that allows us to grab this Zygarde cell. This is Zygarde cell number 56, and this is the last Zygarde cell that we will be collecting before we head off to Grand Dream City. The next few cells we'll be grabbing will be here on Route 7 after our train has stopped while it was on its way to Grand Dream City. First off, we're going to head up to Route 7 Yui's Ranch, and we're going to cut down this tree right here to grab our first Zygarde cell since we've left for Grand Dream City. Next up, we're going to head into Yui's Ranch itself, into the big barn, and we're going to exit to the right. And we should find a Zygarde cell right here in front of a broken bridge. The other Zygarde cell is still on Route 7, but we're going to have to go down a map and then over a map to get to it. So once we go over to this map, we want to head up to the north. It will be raining, you'll see this wreckage here, and we want to head towards this house and then over to the right. And right next to this corner, next to this bridge, we'll find the other Zygarde cell. We will be heading all the way up here to the north. It'll be a little foggy, and you'll see a couple gates. You'll see this girl dancing around. I wonder who that could potentially be. And we're going to surf up here to find this Zygarde cell. The final Zygarde cell we're going to be collecting before we reach Grand Dream City can be achieved after you forge the Dark Light Mirror and the Dark Light Caverns. After that, we want to reflect the light off the Dark Light Mirror pretty much around where you made the mirror. And if we exit all the way out here, we can grab another Zygarde cell. Once you reach Grand Dream City after collecting your 10th badge, you may realize that there are a ton of Zygarde cells scattered about, such as this one. However, there's at least 5 more in this area. So the next one is going to be up here in this botanical garden. We're going to go through this break in the fence and grab the Zygarde cell that's in the lower right hand corner. We're now going to exit the botanical gardens, and if we enter the daycare over here and we go to the 14th floor, we'll find another Zygarde cell just hanging out here on the bed. I guess Zygarde cells have to have lazy days too. Next up, we're going to be heading all the way over to the Dream District, which is to the left of Main Street. Over here, we want to make our way to Pokestar Studios, and we'll find our next Zygarde cell. Finally, after all of this, we want to head north. So over here is going to be Central Square, but we're going to be taking a right, and we're going to be heading into the shopping district. At the shopping district, we want to grab a Zygarde cell south of the department store next to the garbage cans. After this, we're going to be making our way all the way over here back to the central square via the north exit, and all the way over here to this Zygarde cell. For the moment, we've collected all the Zygarde cells that we could potentially collect within the city. However, there is one more that's outside of the city that we can collect if we backtrack. So we're going to quickly backtrack all the way to the previous route. And we're going to go through this gap in the railroad tracks right here and then go up here to grab this Zygarde cell. Eventually, after exploring the city with our friends, we'll wind up here at this penthouse where we're probably going to crash for the night. If we exit out here onto the balcony of the penthouse, we can find another Zygarde cell. If you're keeping up, you should be on 69 Zygarde cells. Eventually, after messing around with Huey and Lavender, and sleeping for the night, you may be able to enter the Judicial District. If you can't enter now, just keep the cell in mind for later. You will eventually be able to enter this place. And the cell is actually right in the center of the district. Before I forget, I realized that I did want to take a quick visit to the Light Manor to grab a couple of Zygarde cells that we'd had left behind here. The first cell is easy enough to get. It's inside of this room right here. And we simply have to deal with these strength puzzles, or strength boulders, very, very carefully. So we want to make sure that we push that boulder up, otherwise we could ruin this puzzle completely. But for our efforts, we'll get that Zygarde cell. However, we also want to come all the way to the end of this room, and we want to read this book right here. And of course, we'll have a very creepy apparition right over here. Our goal at this point is to read all the books scattered about the house, but we also want to read the book inside of this house. After we read the book, or not inside this house, inside this room. After we read the book inside this room, the Clefairy doll will start moving around the mansion, and we want to chase it around the mansion. The Clefairy doll is going to lead us to something that we're going to need. So again, we're going to be chasing the Clefairy doll all around the mansion. As we do so, we want to make sure that we're reading the books whenever we can. And again, we will sometimes see that creepy girl, unfortunately. It's just how things go. I'll be honest, considering that the finale of this side quest is at the end of the game and I recently covered it, it's fresh in my mind and it's actually kind of creepy to be here. Anyways, the Clefairy will eventually lead us to this room and it's going to point towards the candelabra. So we're going to move the candelabra and we'll be able to enter the fireplace. Here we're going to grab the gate key. Once you grab the gate key, all you need to do is finish up reading all the books around the house. Once you've read all the books around the house, you'll notice that the Clefairy doll has come back to visit us again. If we talk to it, it will turn that pile of rubble into a boulder that we can push over the edge. We can now return to the main room over here, and now that we can stand on this boulder, we can actually use the key we found and open that door. Unfortunately, that door might seem locked, but there's a note here for us to read, and the ghost from earlier is going to open the door for us. And now that we're out here in the backyard, find the other Zygarde cell of Light Manor. Once you've defeated the Puppet Master and achieved your 11th badge, you should now have access to Route 9, assuming you've come here with Alita. There are 3 Zygarde cells that we can grab here on Route 9. One is going to be over here next to this hiker. One is actually going to be over here through this cave system. If we come down here into this cavern, we will find another Zygarde cell. Now we can leave these caverns and we can actually leave this general area and instead move down to the beach. And aside from the sandy gas trying to steal my non-existent soul, we want to surf all the way over here and surf around this corner. And eventually we'll find another Zygarde cell. Eventually you should make your way to the Rose Theater, which is still on Route 9. And here we'll be entering this room with a single kimono girl dancing on her own, and we'll find a Zygarde cell in the bottom right corner. If we go ahead and leave the building all the way to the north, and we surf all the way around here, we'll find a Zygarde cell hidden between the tree and the building. Eventually, as the story progresses, we will be returning to Grand Dream City to pick up our friends, as well as stop by Axis High University to complain about the fact that we've been registered for the tournament. While we're here, we want to stop by the central building, and we want to take the Missing Children quest here. Seeing as how we now have 11 badges, we are more than capable of taking this side quest, or help request. After accepting that help request, we will go through a few menial tasks of talking to random people here and there, which eventually leads up to us canceling that help request. This will give us access to the underground of Grand Dream City. Down here, there are 2 hidden Zygarde cells, one right here next to the shop, and one furthermore up here, hidden away in the housing of the underground. Eventually, after a lot of adventuring into the past and gaining our 12th badge, as well as dealing with the Alita incident, we will end up in the Scholar District. From the Scholar District, we actually want to head all the way over to the left and downward into what is known as the National Park. Here we can get 1 Zygarde cell and another Zygarde cell. Eventually, through story progression and story events, you should end up in the Voidal Chasm for some reason or another. Either the Bladestar Grunts will kidnap you and drop you down here, or you will come down here looking for Alexandra. Either way, there are 2 Zygarde cells that we should be grabbing now that we're down here. One is over here, and one is going to be up over here in this room that we're entering right here. Once we've escaped from the Voidal Chasm, there are multiple Zygarde cells for us to collect scattered about in the desert itself. The first of which is actually close by to the Voidal Chasm itself. It's going to be just over to the left and up here on this plateau or ridge. If we make our way all the way to the left, eventually we will want to make our way up here towards this corner to find another Zygarde cell. We're going to continue onwards to the west, yes, to grab this Zygarde cell as well. Keep in mind that the last 2 might be nighttime only cells. I'm actually not too sure about that. Anyways, eventually we'll make our way all the way over to the left to find this Zygarde cell over here. After that cell, we actually want to make our way to this rock climb spot, and we want to rock climb down here. From here, we want to make our way completely to the left and go down a map. We're going to head over to the right, over to this sort of ridge area, and we want to head up to this corner to grab the 5th cell of the desert. Eventually, you will make your way to Sashila Village. In order to get to the next cell, we're going to have to make our way all the way up to the top and surf to the left of here. Once that's done, we want to make our way all the way down to the bottom here, and there is our cell. The next 2 Zygarde cells are actually going to require us to take a help quest. The help request in Sashila Village is going to be called Badland Baddies. So we're going to accept this request here. In order for this quest to work out, in order for us to get into the Badlands area, we're going to need something to make us immune to a Vileplume spore. As such, we're going to be heading all the way down these staircases and into this library over here. One of the NPCs wandering over here will talk to you about helping you out, and if you accept his help, he will allow you to be immune to the Vileplume Spore. Once you've been immunized to the Vileplume Spore or Sleep Powder, you want to head over this way. The Vileplume will get very upset as it fails to put you to sleep so that it can mug you, and we will be free to enter the Badlands. Here at the Ruined City, you're going to need some Blast Powder, not for this first Zygarde cell though. This first Zygarde cell is very easy to get. We're just going to Rock Smash our way into this house and grab it right here. However, you're definitely going to be needing it for this next one. Keep in mind, at this point in time, you should be able to fly around if you need to. So we're going to break open this rock. I don't really need anything from this mining rock, so I'm just going to be spamming the big hammer in order to crash the wall much quicker. I'm going to reopen and do the exact same thing over again. I know, very wasteful. And we'll get the Zygarde cell. Seeing as how I mentioned earlier that we should have Fly at this point, let's take a trip back to Grand Dream City and see how Ayunda is doing. We received 70 Zygarde cells a long time ago, so he should have plenty of rewards for us. So if we talk to him, he will be pretty pleased with us and he will give us the lucky egg as thanks. Next cell that we're going to be grabbing is actually here on Route 2, but we have to start out on the altered version of Route 2. This means you have to go back into the past, go south of Sheridan Village, and you have to make sure that the cherry blossom that is planted after Vivian dies is chopped down. This will put this research facility, or this abandoned lab in this case, right here, and inside of here we want to grab the all-important research notes. Once you grab these research notes, you actually want to go back into the past, and if you talk to the spot where you cut down the cherry tree, you may find some seeds and you want to replant that cherry tree. Once you've taken another trip back to the past and you've replanted the cherry blossom tree with its own seeds, return to Route 2 and it should be its regular old self. We want to chop down that tree and come on over this way, and if we try to pass this nerdy scientist looking guy, we can offer him the notes that we found in the building in the altered version of Route 2, and he'll let us pass. If we continue on left from there, we'll find this Zygarde cell, but only at night. This next Zygarde cell is pretty easy to get. It's as simple as backtracking because we received strength after we left for Grand Dream City and we lost access to places like Kaguri Village. So we want to go to the bottom floor of the Kaguri Village gym and simply move these boulders out of the way. And on the right side, we will find the actual 93rd Zygarde cell. I actually got it wrong last time. Thankfully, the last 10 Zygarde cells are going to be confined to the areas of Zone 0 for the most part. Immediately after you get your 13th badge and after you take the ride over to Zone 0 on Nastasia's airship, you want to come down over this way to grab your next Zygarde cell. The next Zygarde cell is going to be straight on the story path. We are going to be heading all the way down to the basement of this building in Zone 0 and meeting Bryn down here. And right as we meet him, he will talk to us just a little bit, but there will be a Zygarde cell in the upper right hand corner here. The next Zygarde cell is going to be just south of the building that you exit as soon as you escape from the Bladestar grunts and their traps. The next Zygarde cell we're going to be grabbing is again right along the path of the storyline. After Riza Raider shows you this bomb right here, you want to go to the left and we'll grab this Zygarde cell. The next cell is going to be another story path cell. Right after you defeat the Rift Hippowdon, you want to head north and then to the right and grab the cell that's right beneath this tombstone. The next cell after that is going to be a rather obvious cell here at the beginning of the Ecclesia Pyramid. There's absolutely no way you can miss this. And finally, here in the room before you emerge at the top of the Ecclesia Pyramid is going to be cell number 100. At this point, we're going to be paying Ayuda another visit. So now that we have 100 Zygarde cells, we can talk to Ayuda, and he will be super excited, and he will tell us that we need a Zygarde core, and that the first Zygarde cell was found inside of Sandstream Cave. So maybe we'll find a Zygarde cell core if we visit Sandstream Cave ourselves. So that's what we're gonna do. Sandstream Cave is in the northern portion of the Zorland Desert. Make sure that you visit at night, that way the hippopotas is guaranteed to be wandering around. Since we see the hippopotas right there, we're just going to go all the way to this upper left sinkhole, and then we're going to take the sinkhole in the middle of this floor down to the next floor. We'll then be presented with a bunch of rock climb spots, which we are going to take. And we're going to slowly maneuver our way around the room in order to get to the next floor. Eventually we'll arrive at this sinkhole. We're going to take this sinkhole. Again, we'll have more rock climb spots. And eventually, all the way up over here, at the center of the room, we will find our Zygarde cell core. Once we have our cell core, we can take it back to Ayunda, and he will be super excited, and he will give us our own Zygarde 10% form. So Zygarde 10% form isn't that amazing. It has very good speed, has Dragon Dance, and it has some amazing ground type attacks. I think the combination of Dragon Dance and Earthquake, which is a rare combination in this game, at this moment is very, very good as it is. I mean, Garchomp doesn't even get Earthquake in this game because it requires the TM for it, I believe. So it's pretty decent. Each of these 3 remaining cells should be collected after you've taken care of the storyline at the Ecclesia Pyramid. I'll be starting with the easiest one to collect, and we're going to be pushing the strength boulder out of the way to take a shortcut, and we're going to be entering the basement floor where we dealt with Bladestar earlier. Down here you will find a Zygarde cell, among other items. In fact, for the next 2 cells, we may need to go all the way back to the end here to grab a very specific key. This is the Lux Apartments key, and we're going to need it for the next 2 cells, unfortunately. Also, I should mention, if you come back here earlier, as soon as you possibly can, neither the cell or the key will be found here. It will not be visible, and you will not be able to collect them. Next up, we want to take the Lux Apartments key, and we actually want to use it to open this building right here. I won't be going over each and every room because this is a very lengthy, very complicated puzzle, but I will be showing off the cells that we'll be grabbing. The first Zygarde cell is going to be inside of this room, the 2D room right here. You'll also find the 1C key here, but we'll find a Zygarde cell in the bottom left-hand corner right here. And the 103rd and final Zygarde cell is going to be found here in the Gibble Pin. You get access to the Gibble Pin by completing the Lux Apartments puzzle, and the barricade that's right here will go down as soon as you end up in the final room and pull the lever there. Thank you so much for watching, all of you. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy this. I hope this helps you out, especially for all the people out there that really struggle to keep up with all the Zygarde cells and knowing which ones they have, which ones they don't. I do want to make mention that, again, I only show all the cell locations. I don't show the exact moment that you get them, although I tried to order it properly. Although obviously it's not ordered properly for the people who choose certain decisions within the story. I also want to make mention that I'm actually saying this now as opposed to the day that I recorded everything. The day that I recorded everything, you could probably tell that as time was going on, I was getting tired and I was already kind of sick. I was fighting a bit of a sore throat at the time. So I'm saying this now that I'm fresh, and again, thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. You're all awesome people, and I will catch you all on the next one. Peace.